Okay. Hello, everyone. Today we are going to be talking about Bringers of the Dawn, and we're going to be discussing chapter 13. Uh, Hi, Jaya. How you doing?
Good, James. How are you?
Doing great, thanks. Yeah.
Good.
So today's March 12th, 2025, and the weather where I am is starting to get very springy. We had a nice warm day today. So very nice. Okay, so why don't we just get right into it? We'll start with our group meditation as we normally do, and it's a great way to connect with everyone, even though we're remote. I think we still get a good connection
Mm.
during our group meditation.
Yeah.
So go ahead and get into your meditation posture, whatever you like to do. Number one rule is it should be comfortable. And then I like to try and sit up if I can and keep my back fairly straight. And if you can cross your legs, go ahead. It's not required. If you'd like to interlace your hands, you can do that and allow them to sit gently on your lap. And just go ahead and close the eyes. Take a deep breath in and a deep breath out. One more deep breath in and a deep breath out. And now just relax into your normal breathing. Watch how your breath automatically comes in and how it automatically goes out. And you don't have to do anything. It just goes by itself. And you just watch that. It comes in through nose and mouth and goes out either through nose or mouth. Let your awareness relax into your breath. Okay, friends, let's take 30 more seconds. Five, four, three, two, one. When you're ready, you may take your hands and rub the palms together. Place the hands over the eyes and open them and look into your palms. Okay, so we have chapter 13 tonight. It's called Whose Purpose Are You? So it's an interesting question, and I think we should all contemplate it. I think probably many of us have thought some version of this question. What is my purpose? Right? What is my purpose? Why am I here? It's a little bit different, though, to ask it like this. Whose purpose are you? Let's see. I'm going to start reading it. Pleiadians say, we said that you exist for a purpose. Whose purpose? Did you ever think of that one? Whose purpose are you? You have purpose because all aspects of consciousness are connected to one another. None exist outside the system. They are all parts of the whole. That is the purpose we want you to seek. The essence of the vehicle you occupy and the energy you generate are part of a developmental sequence that you can say has a purpose for your personal search in life. But what purpose do you add to the whole? Can you conceive of someone else using your purpose and growing from it? An energy that you do not know exists. This universe is interlocked in such a way that it is based on the domino system. All aspects of consciousness have gathered in this universe to affect each other because that is the only way consciousness in this particular system can experience itself. So, my what I'm getting from this is we're all interconnected. Every piece contributes very vitally to the whole, and no one is truly an island. Okay. So if you feel like you're an island, if you feel like you're isolated, if you feel like you're insignificant, you have the wrong picture. That's what I'm getting from this, and that is, in agreement with the way I see things as well. We are all interconnected, and um, we all have a very deep connection to one another, whether the logical mind knows it or not. Okay. So I'm going to skip down a little bit onto the next page. The Pleiadians say your purpose is to carry information, and by carrying it, to make the information accessible to others by frequency. When we share a story with you, you end up carrying the information. Information is light. Light is information. The more you become informed, the more you alter your frequency. You are electromagnetic creatures, and everything that you broadcast to everyone else. Just as you can recognize someone in fear, you can recognize someone in joy if you begin to learn how to use your body to tune into this kind of recognition. So I imagine, our body is sort of like an antenna. It's constantly transmitting and receiving information. This can be outside of direct awareness through the logical mind. It can be other channels. You just have an awareness. Sometimes you have a sense of something and you don't know what is this, but you feel something. You can recognize what that is. Like they say, you might recognize joy or fear in someone. Um, they also say your purpose is to carry information. And by carrying this information, you make it accessible to others by frequency. So remember, frequency is another word for energy. In physics, there's an equation that relates energy of a photon to its frequency through the Planck constant. That's the way I think of it because I studied science. Um, so when they say that uh, we make this information available to others by frequency, I visualize a frequency flowing between me and other people. It's a connection I have with others. I actually feel this connection. You can develop this feeling in meditation. I think many of us probably have it. You just feel it. You feel the connection. You know it's there. It's hard to describe, but there's this feeling that comes into your awareness. It's there. That's what they mean. You can carry your information to others by frequency. You don't even have to say a word. So, if you're carrying the frequency of love, this frequency, this energy of love will automatically go and be transmitted to others around you. And they just get it by direct transmission. There's nothing you have to do. Now you can also carry other frequencies, right? Things that you may not want to transmit, like fear. Like they say, well, fear's the other one. Fear's the one that we don't, I mean, this is the one we don't want usually. It's not very useful. And it's the frequency of control on the earth. So it's something that, I'd say it's not something we want. So if you carry the frequency of fear, though, you'll end up transmitting it to others, and others can become fearful. So I think it's important to remain in the state of love, and you automatically transmit love to everyone when you're in the state. Now you might say to yourself, "Well, how do I remain in the state of love?" Well, there's no effort. There's nothing you have to do because love is what you are. Okay. It's your right to be what you are. So, and you find that in meditation as well. So, there's so much information here. It's amazing. I just love this book. So, let me go on. I'm going to read now. The Pleiadians say, your assignment is to carry information and to evolve yourself to the highest capability within the human form. Now that sounds like a purpose to me. Okay. I'm going to read that again. That's super important. Your assignment, you can think about it with the word purpose. Your purpose, maybe, is to carry information and to evolve yourself to the highest capability within the human form. That's what we're doing right now. And if anybody didn't know that, now you do. And now you can reflect on it and say, oh, is that true for me? And probably you'll get the answer that it is true for you. But you can reflect on it and see. So I like that assignment that we have here. Let me continue to read. Pleiadians say, when you do this, so when you're carrying this information and when you're evolving, you cannot help but affect multitudes. You may feel that your particular occupation is not on a grand scale. Say, for instance, you're a waitress. Remember, things are not what they appear to be on the outside, and everyone you come in contact with is affected by your vibration. Very important here. There's always the wisdom that says don't judge someone by their appearance, right? It's a very big mistake to judge a person by their appearance because it's so true that things are not what they appear to be on the outside. The body's eyes see whatever you want them to see. And if you want them to see something that's fearful or unpleasant, ugly, whatever is in your judgment, well, you're going to see that. And then you're going to totally miss the essence of what is. And so that's what we're working against. That's what we want to remember. Things are not what they appear to be on the outside. So best to withhold judgment. And everyone you come in contact with is affected by your vibration. Some of you may be left in a very menial or mundane job for a while, or you may be led simply to be parents and guardians of your children, or you may do work that you feel is not exactly on the road to high glory. Yet you will have a certain time period in which you must assimilate all of this information that is indeed radical. You must fit it into your life and you must fit it into the history of your world by living it, perceiving it, and getting used to it. Once you can consistently maintain a frequency of information and not be riding the roller coaster of emotions up and down because you didn't know who you are, you will be given a task. So this is interesting, right? Once you've stabilized in that frequency, you're no longer subject to the ups and down roller coaster of emotions. You're stable. You now know who you are. Now comes the task. The task will be put before you and it will be part of your blueprint. Your blueprint is your own personal detailed plan or outline of action for this lifetime. Okay. So once we're stabilized, we get the plan. Before that, it's kind of hard to have a plan because you're just on this roller coaster ride and you're going wherever these things push you or pull you. Okay. So Pleiadians say many of you already know your blueprint and what you will be guided to. Each of you knows your plan in the deepest portion of your being. What gets in the way of your knowing is logically thinking that you don't have the talent for your plan or that you can't do it. If you go into a meditative state, you will receive a picture of your identity and reality and the next step of your assignment day by day. Meditation is a state of communication. It is not a way to go somewhere to get lost. Meditation is a way to get informed and to go to a place that nourishes you. So this is great. This is really an interesting reflection on what meditation is and what it's for and why we do it. We're not doing it to escape something. We're not doing it to get lost somewhere. A lot of people don't understand it. And they'll say, oh, you're just meditating because you're lazy. You don't want to work. You're trying to get out of doing something. You know, all the people who don't, I've gotten this from people, you know. Oh, yeah, yeah, that's why you meditate. Yeah, you're just trying to get out of your work. But no, it's not, right? It's not. The Pleiadians are they got lots of wisdom, and they say that it's a state of communication. And it is. You're having a communion. Communication, the word communion is present in communication. Communion means, you're joining with, right? You're joining with yourself. You are coming home to yourself. And there's a communication that goes on. It doesn't go through words, it doesn't go through mind. You could say it goes from the heart to the heart, maybe. Some people like to think of a higher self. Well, there's a higher self. I'm communicating with a higher self. Okay, that's fine. Use whatever words are good for you, whatever words make sense, and realize that, of course, our beingness doesn't stop at the body, right? That's the idea of being connected, being really an integral part of the universe is your beingness can't stop where the body stops. Okay. And the communication goes far beyond the limits of the body. And that's what meditation is for. So, so it's good to get into meditation and, communicate with the higher self and get a daily dose of, well, here's the next step in the plan of the blueprint of your life. Uh, oh, yeah, I'll tell my wife that the next time she asks me why am I meditating. We'll see what he says. All right. Let's see. The Pleiadians say you will move into your purpose, and more than likely, it will have to do with facilitating the frequency, transducing it, stepping it down to others, explaining it, using it to heal others, and stabilizing it for the human race. When each of you can hold a frequency of information without freaking out and can be counted upon to be consistent, then you anchor the frequency on the planet. That frequency is recognized. It cannot be traced exactly, but it can be recognized. And it is being recognized now. That is why there has been a frenzied step up to alter that frequency. You will see more frequency control everywhere you look. Only now you will be able to recognize it for what it is. So I like what they say about you know, moving into your person purpose, and it has to do with facilitating the frequency. And you may have to transduce it, which kind of means stepping it down so that others can um, get it. Others who are at a different level can get it by transmission. It can be understandable to them. You may have to explain it if you can. You can certainly use it to heal. That's absolutely true. I know that firsthand. Um, I sometimes have an experience myself where I feel like the energy flow is very, very strong. And it's very powerful and almost so powerful that it's to the point where if it was any stronger, I'm not sure what I would do because it's very strong. And I feel like I understand what they mean by you might have to step it down. And yeah, you might have to if there's a way to do it, um, remaining very calm, going into meditation can help. So if you ever feel like there's this very powerful current of energy flow and you're not sure, wow, if this was any more, what would I do? It's so powerful right now. I'm not sure I could handle anymore. Then, meditate, maybe ask for transduction, maybe ask that it can be sent to others who need it. Other people need it and they don't have as much light maybe as you have. And so maybe you can give some of it away, which is always a good thing because that'll help others to heal. So that's what I get from this paragraph. That's what it means to me. So I'll skip down a little bit and down to the end of the page. The Pleiadians say, we speak to you as if you are not human, because to us, you are not. To us, you are members of the family of light, and we know your multidimensional selves. We speak to you about dealing with humans because it is your assignment to integrate with them, soothe them, and awaken a spark of light within them so that they are not all destroyed, and so that this place can house a new species and a new realm of activity. So this paragraph has got some interesting language in it. Um, they say we're not humans, we're members of the family of light. But and then they kind of explain it by saying, well, we know you're multidimensional selves, so then you can think about it as, well, there's this human body, right? And then there's the multidimensional aspects of my being that I know through my feeling state. Um, sometimes we know we exist in multiple dimensions. And we can't actually explain it well in words, but you just know there's another dimension that I exist in right now. Um, Sometimes when love comes through very strong as a frequency, coming through and coming out the heart chakra and radiating around, other people can pick up on this. And it's like you and the other people who are feeling it are transported to another dimension. You're physically still present, but there's this feeling of being, what I'm going to say is like a web of love. There's just a web of love and you're just there. And maybe you hang out there for a while and then you kind of come back and things are more like earthly and sort of more like usual. That's one way that I feel like I've experienced being in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Um, and so it can be sort of like an experience that really transcends the human part of the nature. Um, so they say, part of our assignment is to integrate with others, soothe them, and to awaken a spark of light within them. And then there's this really interesting phrase. Um, so that this place can house a new species. I wonder what they mean by that. This is something I don't know. I don't know what they mean by that. I'm not sure what they mean. So that it can house a new species and a new realm of activity. I don't know if they mean physical species or non-physical species. If it were a new species, do they mean because we're evolving and we're going to have the 12-stranded DNA, which would basically change the species?
I think so.
Perhaps. Do you think that's what it means? Yeah,
Yeah, I think so.
I'm kind of thinking that too. I'm kind of thinking that's what it means. Um, there's always the possibility that we could have visitors from other star systems that want to come here and migrate and set up a colony and maybe introduce a new species that way from a different planet. That's not beyond the realm of possibility, although some people would say it is. Uh, my opinion is it's not. It's actually in the realm of the possible. So we're either maybe it's both. Maybe we're evolving the 12-stranded DNA, so the species is changing. And then there's this possibility we could have visitors who say, "Oh, you got a nice planet there. We'd like to come on over and, you know, set up with you." I don't know. So I kind of think it's the 12-stranded DNA, though. I agree with you, Jaya. Yeah. Um, oh yeah. Then let me keep reading. Now they're going back to the DNA thing, so I think that's what they mean. Yeah. So they say we have talked many times about the evolving DNA and the frequency modulation that has kept the species and the experiment controllable and manageable. You've been hired and are on assignment from the future to catapult back into this cycle of existence, to incarnate many times so that you can understand what has kept humans controlled. In this way, you can operate from the inside and change the system. When you are in a battle with your logical mind, you are experiencing a conflict between the portion of yourself that is human, which has bought the story, and a portion of yourself that is family of light, which has not bought the story and is learning about the bigger picture. Hmm. Remember that battle with your logical mind sometimes. The Pleiadians say, begin to realize that the portion of yourself that operates out of logic is teaching you something. It's giving you firsthand experience of how most of the population operates and firsthand knowledge of what you are going to have to work around to reach others. If it were quite easy for you to move into intuition and operate there completely out of trust, and if you did not have this duality of understanding with the logical mind, in the long run, you would become very impatient with the rest of humanity. If it were easy for you, how could you possibly understand how difficult it is for others? You see? So that's why we have the logical mind and the intuitive knowingness. Yeah, it's like you have these two dimensions of knowing. And most people on the planet operate only from the logical mind. It's the only way that they will ever operate. It's the only way they will ever try to understand something. And it's so very difficult to have a deep, deep knowledge of things that we need to know by only going into the logical mind, because the logical mind will say, well, if I can't see it, I don't believe it, right? If I can't see it, it doesn't exist. Um, well, that story that James just said about, aliens visiting the planet, oh, yeah, that's science fiction. Come on, no, that's never going to happen. That's the logical mind, right? But then you have the intuitive knowingness that's very deep, and it can bring knowledge forth through the heart, and it's the complete, with the logical mind makes up the more complete aspect of how we know what we know. um and so they're saying, basically have compassion for people who are stuck in logical mind thinking. It's a limitation that they imposed on themselves. And if we're compassionate with them, uh, maybe they'll find a way to be more open, you know? And at least we understand the challenges that they face. So they say humans have been controlled by frequency for a long time. They are so used to this frequency control, and the logical mind has been so overly developed in recent times that there is much suspicion and fear. A dark place of self that is so controlled that people are frightened to even go into it and trust that they could possibly receive information on their own. When you think of the entities who have modulated the way humans broadcast themselves by rearranging their DNA and instituting various scenarios and events on this planet, and then funneling the results of this psychic energy through different portals out into space for their own reasons, you can see what you are battling. I mean, just imagine that. Isn't that something? We've got these beings coming here and disrupting DNA to make people controllable, and then, giving us some scenarios that are very frightening and causing this psychic flow of energy that from fear states, and they just suck it all up and use it as food or whatever. And this is what they need. I mean, gosh, if that's the thing, we've got this important mission, right? To hold the frequency of love, That's the change of frequency on the planet that we need, the frequency of love. Spread it to everyone. If everyone or most everyone is holding the frequency of love, it breaks the frequency of control, which is fear. And then these beings will have to either go away or use love as food source, which may be more healthy anyway. So yeah, so that's an interesting picture of what are we battling? What are we up against? Uh, okay, so the Pleiadians say there are those who want you and the whole planet to function in no other way but through logic, a very fearful logic. The best advice we can offer you at this time is to use that logic. Say, I will be in logic here for a moment and see what my logical mind is doing. It is wanting to take over. It has been told that this is how it is. I have also been told that this other stuff is true too. I will simply observe how I waver between one and the other. Am I angry? Am I insecure? What brings me upliftment? What brings me security? What does each mode of thinking do for me? What am I perceiving about myself? How am I feeling? Observe and acknowledge all of this, and then say, now that I've given everyone a chance to be on stage, what do I want? Reaffirm what you want, and you want to evolve. Do you see how cycling back through doubt is, in actuality, part of the divine plan? It is part of understanding what others who will be following in your footsteps will go through. You must learn to open your compassion center or heart center, which is probably one of the most difficult things to do. Learn to feel compassion for yourself and for everyone else as you all have the courage to let go and feel. So, again, coming back to the problem of being trapped in the logical mind, but the Pleiadians are now advising use this logical mind to get past the logical mind. You see, if you follow these directions, it can lead you to a place where you can become more open. It can get you more heart centered, especially compassion, which is trying to develop a feeling of understanding for someone else. You know, what are they going through and why? You know, and then trying to understand their perspective, where are they coming from, and wishing them well. For me, compassion is also about wishing someone well on their journey. I hope everything goes great for this person who may be struggling with a problem. Uh, so that's a very important thing to do. It can advance everyone in their own mission. So let me continue. Pleiadians say it is very important to observe how you deal with events. Different events are brought to you so you can observe them. Learn to observe your behavior and to spend much more time alone, even if sometimes it is difficult for you and you feel lonely. In the long run, you will thank us for directing you to have a more meaningful encounter with yourself. You hold the richness and ripeness that can bring you into higher realization. So this is a non-intuitive piece of advice, I think. It's something the logical mind would say, no, 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 no. You know, some people don't like to be alone. Some people could even become depressed if they're alone too long. But the Pleiadians are saying that it's actually good to spend this alone time observing yourself. And the whole reason is because of what you are and the potential that you have. You hold the richness and ripeness that can bring you into higher realization. So that's what they're saying. And basically what they're saying is that this higher realization has to come through you. Okay. And it's also the message is getting out of your mind and getting into the heart space. It's kind of hard to get into the heart space if you're always preoccupied with what's going on around and you're always kind of living through the visual and auditory and other senses. Um, okay, let me continue. Uh, there is an order that you operate within that is that part of yourself cannot see. Okay. Sometimes when part of yourself is operating without vision or seeing, events occur to get you back on track. Be aware that in this new chaos of consciousness and confusion and shifting of uncertainty, there is a divine order. Okay. So, things happen for a reason. Sight isn't everything. Not all information comes through sight. We may not fully be aware of why things happen. Sometimes, bad things happen, right? Bad things happen. Okay, it happens for a reason. You've got to be able to see the important things. We don't always understand why they happen. But remembering about the divine order, there's a divine order to all things, and it's part of it. And it may be difficult or even impossible at some points to understand it because of the limited perspective from which we come. Uh, but there is reason for it. Okay, I'm going to skip down a little bit. The Pleiadians say there is a catalytic energy present at this time on the planet as all of the individual structures begin to melt and merge to create what looks like chaos. There will be something new born out of this, just like a cake is born out of the chaos of mixing together certain ingredients. Someone who does not understand that after you mix cake batter, you put it in the oven to bake it could look at that goopy batter and think they made nothing. Many people on the planet will not recognize that there is a higher order behind the chaos. There's a recipe being followed, right? So the chaos is obviously all the bad things that happen, right? All these wars and natural disasters um, and so we can't see necessarily the outcome of it. What's the final outcome of it? Um, we could guess at it. Some of us might have some really good guesses that might be quite right, but many times a lot of people just can't see what's coming. Um, but it's another way of saying, well, it's the divine plan. Right? Okay, let me skip down a little. The Pleiadians say, what can we say to convince you to take all of your boundaries down, to stop limiting what you believe can be yours? If there's anything we wish to achieve, it is to have each of you boundless and free, knowing that every thought you entertain somehow determines your experience. If we could get you to live 100% of the time according to what you want, we would feel that this has been a most successful year. So, boundless and free. So important, this advice, so important. Because ultimately we are boundless and we are free. That's our nature. Many people don't see it, they don't know it because of self-imposed restrictions. Um, the limits of what you believe, right? Um, Stop limiting what you believe can be yours. Okay. Stop saying it's impossible. Stop saying it can't be true. I can't do that. These are the thoughts that limit you by your own choice. You've decided it's true for you when you believe it. Okay. It's true for you when you believe it. It may not be an ultimate truth, but for your reality at that time, it's what you want. You may not see it that way. You may not see it that way. You may not think it's what I want, but you're believing it. And by giving it that power of your belief, it becomes your reality. Okay? And so they're giving us very sage advice. Look at your thought patterns. Look at how you operate and make a change. You have the power to change your thought patterns. You can say, stop. I don't want this anymore at any time. And you can choose something else at any time. You just have to say, stop. I don't want this anymore. And that limit will go away quickly. It may take a little time, right? But you have to put your power of will and belief behind it. Um, I read, stories in the Bible and they're fun. I like the gospel stories, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, the stories of Jesus Christ. And it always struck me how Jesus would say something like to a person would ask him for healing. He's well known for giving healing. And he would generally say to a person, do you believe I can do this? Before giving the miracle of healing, he would just say, do you believe I can do this? And when the person said yes, he would say, let it be as you say, let it be as you believe. Go away, you're fine, wash yourself. And the person would be healed. And he would just say, let it believe as you want it to be at that point. And that's how things operate from a master like that, a master who really knows how reality is constructed. He already knows himself. He doesn't need to do anything. All he does is he convinces the person who needs the healing to just change their belief structure a little bit, to make an opening for this higher state of reality to move into their life and bring them healing. So that's the way we really also need to be, you know, becoming boundless and limitless like that. So let me go on here. And what are the Pleiadians saying? We are going to ask each of you to make that commitment and to live a cleaner and more impeccable life. We ask you to accept responsibility in areas that you have not even thought of accepting responsibility. We want you each to act as if you know what is going on. Act as if you are divinely guided in every choice you make. And to begin to believe that you are always at the right place at the right time. Say to yourself, I am in divine guidance. I am always at the right place at the right time. Everything I do is orchestrated for my higher growth, my higher consciousness, and my higher evolution. We want you to operate in that way all of the time now. Be living keepers of frequency. When light is brought into your body, it fires your light-encoded filaments and helps rebundle the DNA, creating a frequency change. Frequency is what you know. Frequency is your identity. Great advice here. Great advice. I'm thinking about maybe writing this paragraph down on a piece of paper and keeping it handy so I can keep referring back to it. Um, sometimes we ask the question, who am I? Well, Pleiadians gave a nice answer right here. Frequency is your identity. Whatever energy you're carrying, that's you. If you're carrying the energy of love, then you're love. Okay? So keep that in mind and keep it in mind when you think, what do I want to be? You know, do I want to be some crazy person who's all caught up in fear and anger and other kinds of emotions? Because if that's the frequency I'm carrying, that's what I'm going to be. Or would I prefer to be peaceful? Would I prefer to be joyful? So we can choose it and we can change it. We can help to change it by the power of our belief and by putting our will in that direction. Okay. So let me continue on. The Pleiadians say there have been periods when many different dimensions have existed upon this planet at the same time. In the last 1,000 years, there has been a receding of the many different dimensions as great chaos and darkness have come over the population. These dimensions, or other realities, or places where the laws of existence are a bit different, are returning. You help them return by pulling the dimensions onto this planet and creating what is called a dimensional merge. Sometimes you move into these dimensions and do not recognize that you are in them. You enter an altered state, particularly when you go to a sacred site on Earth. You move into a different dimensional frequency and everything changes. You feel uplifted and full of energy, or sick to your stomach. Something goes on when you move into an altered state. Since you are in the altered state, you do not always know you are in it. That is the beginning of the dimensional merge. When you return home from a sacred site, you may look back and say, wow, what happened there? That is the feeling of experiencing different dimensions. I think we've all probably had that experience. I know I've had that experience um, many times. It's great. I love those experiences. They're amazing. Um, so going on pilgrimage has a lot of value. You get to experience these different dimensions, and many times it's a great uplifting experience. So always well worth going on pilgrimage. Okay, let me continue. I'm going to skip down just a bit. Um, the Pleiadians say great discomfort will occur on this planet for many. This is already occurring on a very small scale as discomfort in the nervous system. People may develop disease of the nervous system simply because of their refusal to evolve and change their stand about themselves and their reality. All of you who are working with other humans, whether you are medical people, body workers, teachers, musicians, or whatever, understand that this is the human dilemma, the need to shift the definition of self and reality. Use your will and mind to decide how you would like reality to construct itself. By doing this, you will eventually discover that there's a higher will and a higher plan, and you will ride your consciousness to it and discover the divine path. This divine path has in mind the evolution of consciousness. Mm-hmm. So, interesting passage here about some people who develop disease of the nervous system because they refuse to evolve and they refuse to change their very rigid and narrow view of themselves and their reality. And when you're resisting what is when you can develop health problems. Okay, people actually get sick because they resist reality. They put themselves in a tiny little box. The energy can't flow properly, it's blocked, and then they get sick. And part of this, they're saying, is discomfort can occur on a small scale uh, as a discomfort in the nervous system. So there are several diseases of the nervous system that I think are important that aren't well understood. You know, one of them is the Alzheimer's disease, and all these physical diseases are a reflection of our inner state, and it comes through the mind. So, you know, I think the more open we can be and the more heart-centered we can be, the easier it is for the energy to flow, the less likely a person would get sick. So, you know, these sicknesses are brought on by individuals who, you know, fight against reality, basically. And they don't know that they're doing it. And so that's one of the reasons why it's so important to have compassion. They don't understand the harm that they cause themselves by doing that. And we can help them. We can help them to understand it. Um, we can try to communicate it in a variety of ways. Um, I've actually tried to communicate it to sometimes to people through words, and that doesn't always work well. I've told people who talk about having debilitating diseases that, you know, you don't have to accept that. It doesn't have to be who you are. It doesn't have to, you don't have to be sick. You have a choice. And they wanna argue the point and say, no, this is what it is. I don't have a choice. And there's not much you can do because they're not going to follow you through the logical mind. It's just not happening. And so um, sometimes, you know, if you start a conversation like that and it doesn't go so well, you can just not continue it and go back to the heart space and just, you know, wish them well through the heart. And that energy will probably be more efficient in making it to that sort of person. So, yeah, it's very, very nice. Let me continue with what the Pleiadians are saying. So, Pleiadians say Earth at this time is a very difficult place to be, simply because those who are coded to bring the changes onto the planet are coded to teach themselves. Okay? So, if you, as one of the members of the family of light, are bringing light onto the planet, you got to teach yourself. That's a tough job, right? Let me continue. You see, the problem on this planet over and over again has been the gods, one god after another. Who have the gods been? The gods created you. You are their project. You are dear to them. However, some of them you are not very dear to because they do not understand emotion and feelings. And some of them are enamored of different realities than you are. Consciousness is allowed its expression, and you have been allowed your expression within limitation by those who have been governing you. From your point of view, you have never let them govern you, and you have no idea that they exist. They bring dramas onto this planet in the guise of what you call religion, leadership, or sometimes inspiration. Events, even though they are orchestrated to achieve certain things, sometimes gather those who hang on, and many other probabilities come out other than what was intended. We want to communicate to you that there is a drastic change going on. We cannot emphasize this enough. Earth is in for a big shakeup. The shakeup involves humanity processing and conceiving of data that is totally out of the current paradigm. This means that your nervous system will be assaulted with data and must be able to unlock itself from how it believes it controls or perceives reality. The task for you members of the family of light who have desired to take this information inside of yourselves is to anchor a new frequency on the planet by anchoring it impeccably inside yourselves. This is not easy, and it was not meant to be easy. You did not come here to have an easy assignment. You are renegades, and you have been renegades. If we could give each of you a minute's worth of your multidimensional memories, you would know what we're talking about. You would know in the deepest portion of your being that time and time again, in different guises and different collections of form, you have gone where change needed to be anchored. You have gone many times, busted the paradigms, liberated yourselves, and moved beyond where you thought your identity was. This is the divine plan, merging the self. The divine plan has many ramifications and brings together many kinds of forces. You have heard us talk about the forces of light and the forces of darkness, and we have nicknamed them white t-shirts and dark t-shirts to make the situation neutral and to have you know it is a game. We also want you to know that there is a grave seriousness to the game, and that in and around and above the game is the divine plan. The divine plan can be anchored as a vibration into certain human bodies that are coded for this and that come here to carry this frequency. And then you can raise your own blueprint of impeccability. When your own life rises to a position where you do not even recognize it as your life, you allow the energy of the non-physical realms to use you as a conduit, to merge the dimensions and liberate consciousness into a new way of perceiving. Even though there's death and destruction coming to your world, remember that death and destruction come in the autumn every year on this planet. The flowers and leaves on the trees are killed by the frost. Things wither and die. Perhaps someone who lives where it is always summer would be very disturbed when they saw autumn for the first time. They would think, goodness, the world's being destroyed here. All the beauty is being taken away. Understand that this is what is going on with Earth. It is a season when some things will die so that many new things can be born. It's all part of the divine plan. So, lots of information here in this last section. Um, it's super interesting. It's maybe a little difficult to dig down into because they talk about gods who've created and gods who have left, and we're dear to the gods. But then they talk about the divine plan. So we have the way I kind of would understand it from the language of the Pleiadians is, there's prime creator, right? Who's obviously nothing can exist without prime creator. And then there are these energies that prime creator created and said, go out and create and report back to me. My view is that those are the gods that they're referring to, these energies. And they're creative forces, and so we've got that to deal with. But then ultimately, there's a divine will behind things, right? This divine plan that they talk about. And ultimately, Prime Creator will have a say in things. And I think that's my interpretation of this divine plan,
Mhm.
like sort of governing. There's the game between the white t-shirts and the dark t-shirts, very serious, of course, but ultimately Prime Creator gets a say in it, and that's the divine plan coming back. And he or she or it, whatever, will say, okay, we've had the game, but I'd like this, and that's the divine plan. So that's my perspective on that. I think it's nice. It's they say the divine plan can be anchored as a vibration into certain human bodies that are coded for it and that have come here to carry the frequency. My perspective is that frequency is love. Okay. My perspective is ultimately, whenever I think of the divine, I always associate the divine with love. That's just how I see it. And if that's true, then the vibration that we anchor was this vibration of love, and we carry that frequency, and that's part of our mission to uplift everything on Earth. And we just remember that when we see the death and destruction coming. And we remember that there is no good or bad, right? Shakespeare said it in Hamlet. There is neither good nor bad, but thinking makes it so. Your judgment decides if something is good or bad. So if there's death and destruction, it is what it is. It could be an agent of creation. Someone might say that's bad, that's horrible, that's evil, but it could be an agent of creation. And how do you know? You know. So I think that's kind of one of the things that's being said here. Um,
I wanted to add something to this, James, that I
yeah,
find that this chapter sort of brings a closure to the first part of what we've been discussing so far. Because what I feel is like they have actually defined the purpose, but also gave us why we are carrying it, right? So
yeah,
so and they also help us further by telling us that when you are able to control your mind, body, and able to identify how you function is the moment that you will start feeling the change and resonating with your frequency, such that when you walk in a room you will feel, people can feel that about you,
right,
and you are in
right,
sync with your frequency in your mind, body, and heart. And
right,
so that what is the part of your body that creates the resonance? It's your heart, right? When you are
correct.
vibrating in that love frequency, as you were saying, it
Yes,
will begin to show in your face, in your actions, in your words. And then you then only they will increase the frequency, right?
Yeah.
Because unless you're not able to anchor it, only because when you can hold it steady for a long time, because one day we are happy, the next day we're sad, we have this swinging pendulum kind of behavior, right? But once
Yes.
we become steady, once we are able to hold that mood of ours, we can ride the storm anything on our brow. We can just
Yes.
steer through that storms that are thrown at us, as they are tests. Everything that comes at you is a test, and when you begin to pass each test without losing your frequency, then only you are ready for the next level.
Oh,
So
yes.
I think
Mhm.
this chapter really sums it beautifully, bringing together a few items of why it's done, understanding it, and when you grow into it, it's only then when you will get the elevation.
Yes. Totally agree. Yeah, it's holding the frequency and being steady. This is the challenge. Not to be tossed around in these waves of emotion. Um, I see all the time, people being tossed around in the waves of emotion, and I observe it, and I generally don't say anything at all. I just observe it, and I relate it back to my own sense of being. And I feel very fortunate to be in a place where I can be very anchored and not subject to this turbulence. And this is exactly where we are trying to be as the members of the family of light, to carry that stabilizing frequency so that hopefully it gets to others as well. I
Yes.
think it can go to others through those of us who are transmitting it, and eventually it will help everyone on the planet. Um, but this is the common
How will you
challenge.
be transmitting it? You will be transmitting through your words of kindness. You will be
Oh, yes,
transmitting through your
through your
actions of
words,
kindness, through
through
your
your
loving heart.
actions,
That's how you
definitely.
transmit. Yes.
It's transmitted. It's transmitted in ways that are verbal, in ways that people can sense through the senses, but it's also transmitted on a level that's not visible, that can't be seen, but that can be felt.
Yes.
Okay. Some people are more receptive than others to this feeling, and some people will pick up on it, and they may not know where it's coming from, but it's a good thing. I mean, in my opinion, it's a good thing. And it gets transmitted. And it's like something that I read somewhere. I don't remember now. The light goes from one burning candle to another, and that's how it's transmitted. So if you're carrying this fire, you can help light these other candles that aren't burning yet around you. So,
Right.
yeah. Any other thoughts on this chapter or the book as a whole?
I mean, from whatever we believe, from religion perspective, it's bringing a fresh light onto it as well. Like,
Hmm.
we also anchor the thought of believing in a higher, uh, on a higher sphere above us, taking care of us, guiding us, to help us, right? And
Yeah.
all of this is part of a test. So the book brings the clarity from using it a different perspective, that we are here on for that purpose. So it
Hmm.
also adds some flavor to our life. So yeah,
Yeah.
because in religion's perspective, they are very grand and consequences, right? Hell. Here, here
Right, right.
they are dividing it onto a game that you have to play the game of life. But
Yeah.
if you were to think of it from religious perspective, the consequences are much more dire.
Yeah. So
Give
the
me your thoughts.
religious perspective is kind of interesting. So one of the things that Pleiadians said, in this chapter as I was reading it, they talk about we've never let these, from our own perspective, we don't recall ever having let these gods govern us. We don't know who they are. Um, but they bring drama onto the planet, is what the Pleiadians saying. They're bringing this drama onto the planet in the guise of what we would call religion. Okay, is one of the ways we get the drama is the religion that crops up, or leadership, or politics, or whatever, or inspiration. So I like to think about religion as drama because I think it's true. Religion can very well be manipulated into the frequency of control. It's very, I mean, people have grand and good ambitions about spirituality, but when it morphs into religion is when you can get this frequent aspect of frequency control. And it's kind of a tough spot to talk about because people can become offended. And so I won't get too much into it other than to say that I don't believe that, say, let's talk about Christianity. I don't believe that Jesus Christ came with an intent to set up a new religion. I don't believe that was his intent. I do believe he wanted to teach people about who we are and God is love. I do believe that that was his main idea. I'm going to teach who we are. I'm going to teach God is love and that we are love and that we are one. That to me is like very germane to his teaching. But I don't believe he would have wanted people to set him up as the God and to worship him personally. That happened as people wanted a religion, people wanted something to cling on to. So that's my perspective and how I see that story. But once the religion is set up, then there's a big opportunity for control, right? And drama, right? There's lots of drama around religion as well. So it's kind of interesting to think about in a dispassionate state of mind where no one is blaming anyone and we're just having a conversation. So and then to make the distinction between, religion and spirituality as well. And to see, what distinguishes religion from spirituality. Well, religion has cert it's a belief system, right? Spirituality is more like uh, we're a quest for the absolute truth through self-realization could be one way of saying it. Um, Religion tries to get you there as well, but you're following a very rigid belief system. And I think for that reason, it can be harder, the pathway of religion. Uh, so anyway, that's my perspective on that.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Jaya, would you like to make some comments?
Yeah. Can we go through the abstract?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. So, chapter 13, whose purpose are we? So, Pleiadians in this chapter talk about purpose and interconnectedness. All beings have a purpose that is interconnected within the universal consciousness. Each individual's existence contributes to the whole, fostering growth and development. The universe operates on a domino system where the interaction of consciousness shapes experiences. Pleiadians also talk about free will and collective existence. They say in this free will zone, every entity affects one another. Unlike other universes where individuality reigns, here on Earth, interconnectedness is essential for progress. Each individual's purpose is to carry and share information, transforming it into accessible energy for others. Pleiadians also talk about personal assignments and blueprints. They say individuals are tasked with evolving and maintaining a frequency that positively impacts others. Each person should recognize their personal blueprint, a guiding plan for their life that unfolds as they grow in awareness and frequency. Pleiadians also talk about balancing logic and intuition. They say to facilitate their purpose, individuals must navigate between logic and intuition, recognizing both as integral to understanding themselves and helping others. Compassion towards oneself and others is crucial for evolution. Pleiadians also talk about observation and accepting change. They say by observing behaviors and emotions, individuals gain insight into their growth. The current chaos can lead to a higher order if approached with awareness. Life events serve as catalysts for personal evolution. Pleiadians also talk about each person has the potential to influence reality through their choices, reflecting a greater divine plan. Mastery of oneself, including emotions and physical existence, is essential for fulfilling one's purpose. Brilliants also talk about current shifts and collective experience. They say humanity is undergoing significant changes influenced by a need for evolution and the merging of various dimensions. Awareness of these shifts is essential, especially as fear and resistance to change can lead to discomfort. Pleiadians also talk about anchoring new frequencies in this chapter. They say members of the family of light are tasked with anchoring new frequencies within themselves to facilitate planetary transformation. This effort is vital for merging dimensions and fostering a new paradigm. Pleiadians also talk about seasonal change and divine timing. They say, like the seasonal cycle of atom, death and destruction can lead to new beginnings. Embracing these changes is part of the divine plan, guiding humanity toward rebirth and transformation.
Very nice. Thank you for that summary.
Yes.
Okay. Well, does anyone else want to make comments, questions before we bring it to a close? Okay. Then we'll just bring it to a close here. That was chapter 13. And we'll meet again next time to talk about chapter 14. So thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Good night.